Welcome to the Jill on Money podcast. It is Tuesday, October 26th, and we are here to try to take the mystery out of your financial life. And as we record this, Mark, I will tell you, I took a lovely Peloton ride today with Christine Dirkall. And she said something that I thought was really important for our show as well, which is Mark and I do this thing. Are you still doing Power Zone or not? Okay, so there's this part of Peloton, but it's like anything else, like any exercise thing, where it's very high metric count. Like you look at where you are and this, that, and the other thing. And she said something in the middle of the ride that made me like perk up and think about us, which is you just don't want to be defined by the numbers. And I feel like sometimes when we talk to you guys, we do run through all of your numbers. I have to reiterate this over and over and over, which is repetitive in and of itself. And that is, you are more than these numbers that you have accumulated. You are more than the money that's in your retirement account or your bank account. And in the last couple of weeks, so many of you have been sending in your conversations to me about like making big changes amid COVID. And some of you have really shared some awesome stuff, whether it was, we had somebody who wrote in who had lost her job of 26 plus years in the restaurant business and then took some time off and thinking about what to do and made a decision not to go back into the restaurant business, and how this woman was able to just do it and how happy she is doing it. It's amazing. Here's a woman who said she changed her retirement plans from retiring, maybe at 62 or 65 to going to 60. And she loves her job, but she hadn't thought about retiring before the pandemic. And she said, look, I need to work in a place where morale is better and things like, so I just think you're more than all these numbers. I'm so grateful for you sharing these stories with me. And some of you are going to be featured in my next book. So watch out don't worry, I change all the names. But what's interesting to me is that all the numbers that you have accumulated may give you permission to do these things or give you the opportunity. That's why you are so much more than those numbers. And just racking up the numbers doesn't do anything for you. But using those dollars that you've accumulated to make changes in your life, to give yourselves opportunities, that's really fantastic. And that's the goal. So anyway, I don't know. It's a soapbox. Is that a soapbox, Mark? Or is that just a part of the mantra-ish? Sidebar. Right. Sidebar. I like that. Today, we are going to talk to a listener, David in New York. Hello, David. Did I go on too long or did you like that?
No, I liked it. I usually love when you start your podcasts this way, and it really gives us a window into what's going on. So I appreciate it.
All right. Do you want to know what else is going on? Dogs were out in the park. Charlie pooped. Trixie didn't. That's the other metric that I'm living with this morning.
Well, we have one at home. His name is Monty, and he never has that problem. So
like a good man. Okay, David, what's going on? How can we help you?
So I really would love, just like many of your listeners, to know where we are right now. My wife is going to stop working at the end of December. She just turned 50 actually a couple of days ago. So she's exiting the workforce pretty early. I'm going to probably work for 3 more years. I have a contract that if I work 3 more years, we're going to get health insurance until I'm 72.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very excited about that, which is why I'm going to go 3 more years at least. That gets my wife to 65, and it also gets my children through college, and it'll get them past 26. The company was really supportive in that, so I'm going to at least work 3 more.
How much do you earn, David?
I earn about $150,000.
Okay. And do you have a retirement plan at work?
I have a 403B.
Okay. And how much do you contribute to the 403B?
The max. Okay. And that's one of my questions later, is if I should continue that as we try to navigate how much we spend per month and the reality that her salary is not going to be part of our lives anymore.
Gotcha. Are you 50?
I am 56.
All right. So right now, when you say you're putting the max into the 403B, $19,500 plus the $6,500 catch up?
That is correct.
Okay, great. How much is in the 403B account right now?
Well, I switched school districts, so total my IRA 403B is $337,000. I started late.
Okay. And you said school districts. Will you be entitled to a pension?
It's a very good pension. I'll probably be looking at close to $100,000 a year.
Whoa.
That includes a widow's pension, so it would be a little bit higher, but they reduce it in case I die before my wife. She'll get whatever I'm getting for the rest of her life.
Okay, great. How old are your kids?
12 and 10, we started late.
And do you have any money saved for their education or not really?
Yes, we have 529s. They both have around 75,000, and that's one of my questions too. I know I have several questions, but do we have enough in those, and should we start feeding those more? I'm always skeptical on how much to put in them.
Okay. How much is your wife making now currently?
Well, that's the interesting story. She was making between 250 and 300, but they just changed her revenue formula, and she's now down to probably 120 to 150, which is one of the
Whoa.
reasons she's leaving.
And is she leaving like I'm leaving and I'm slamming the door and like that's it? Or do you think she will go back to work at some point?
She is looking at the possibility of finding work, but she's really not sure what that is. And for the right now, we're probably going to have her just stay at home while we can and, do all the work that's needed with a 12 and a 10-year-old.
When you gave me your retirement savings, that 337,000, that was for you. Does she also have retirement
Yep.
savings?
She has a small IRA and a 401k, which amounts to about 1.2 million, and the most of that's in the 401k.
Okay, great. Do you through work, do you have a Roth option or just the traditional 403b?
Just traditional.
Okay.
We have
And
no money in Roth at this point.
and how about cash money, like just in the bank?
We have about $100,000 in the bank.
House?
House is worth about 700 to 750, and we
Mhm.
own it outright.
Outright. Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
So what's your nut? Like if you look at what it costs you to run your lives, your wife will be home so you'll save on any babysitting, I guess. But what about like just the running of your household every month? What do you think that is?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we're looking right now. I'm the one that looks at the finances, and we spend probably between 7 and 10,000 a month. But we do that without really having oversight. So one of the things my wife and I have talked about is we're going to have to, tighten the belt, look at a budget, and think about how we spend. It's not unusual for us to go out to dinner with the kids and do all the things that we like to do because we can afford it right now.
Sure. I mean, but look, this is going to be a whole different transition anyway. Because if she's got $1 million saved, 1.2, and she's been working her tushy off for a while.
She
So
has.
she's going
She
to
works
breathe a
really
little
hard.
bit, and that's okay. Is there anything else that I'm missing from this
We
right now?
have an investment account of about $400,000.
So that's a taxable investment account. Where is that held?
That's in Morgan Stanley.
So you have a financial advisor?
We do. One of the things I always ask is, well, how much does it cost me to have these financial advisors? And they came with my wife, and they never really tell me. They say, oh, it's somewhere between 1% and 2%. And I listen to you enough to say, yeah, that gives me pause.
Hmm. Right now, the Morgan Stanley person has her small IRA, the taxable account, and your IRA, right?
Correct.
How do you feel about managing your own money? Would that freak you out? Can we
It
fire
would.
this advisor? Okay.
Yeah, it would.
It would. Okay.
And I don't have the time.
Okay. How about she? Because she could take this on. She could now become the chief financial officer of the family.
I think she would, if she were here, she'd be like, that's not happening.
Is this person doing any sort of financial planning for you or just managing the money?
We do have a meeting once a year where they give me, I don't know, 100 pages on projections. I ask a lot of questions. I don't always understand everything that's going on. I feel like I have a good grasp of finances, but when it comes to that, it gets so thick in the report that I'm like, I really don't know what you're saying to me.
There are alternatives, okay? The
Yes.
alternative for you guys would not be to do it yourselves because you don't want to do it yourselves. But what you could potentially do is you could go into a robo, meaning an online platform, and you could
Yep.
get financial advice with that. So the ones that do that would be like Vanguard has the personal service advisor. The minimum is, I think, you need 50 grand to be in there. So you'll get the minimum. Schwab has a intelligent portfolio. You can use Betterment. They were a sponsor of this show years and years ago, but they have similar. Those are the kinds of places where instead of paying 1.5 or 2%, you're going to be paying a half, maybe a 0.3%. And you'll probably get a similar amount of touch with the person, that you would otherwise. I would suggest that you at least look into it.
I
Okay. I'm
will.
not saying you should do it. There is one other company that I will point you to with a full disclosure that they are the sponsors of our radio show, and it's called Facet Wealth. All one word, facetwealth.com. And you can check them out also. The big difference between, say, Facet and the ones that I mentioned is Facet will give you a dedicated advisor. So I think you should check those out as possibilities
Yeah,
because
I could see myself doing something like that when I retire. I'm
Mhm.
not sure. When I'm not in the school district, I also teach adjunct for two different colleges. So my schedule's pretty crazy right now. Plus, I have a 12 and a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, you don't have to do it yourself. You can, if you don't want to make this move out of Morgan Stanley, the only reason I'm going to say that I think you should do it now is that Morgan Stanley broker is like salivating over your wife's 401k.
Hmm.
And so if you decide to stay with Morgan Stanley, you have to pinky swear with me that you're going to get a reduction in your fee because
Okay.
you're going to have money that pours in there, right? And you're going to have almost $2 million with this person. You say to them, I want to know exactly what the fee is. And then you say, what you want to pay. And to me, you should not be paying more than 1% on $2 million. And I would say you should try to get them down to, say, 0.75%. See if you can get that, then stick around.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Next year, you're going to drop into the 22% tax bracket. You've
Even with
never,
my salary.
yeah, because you're making 150 and that's the top of the bracket's 172,750.
Okay.
All right. So you're in the 22% tax bracket. And so, a couple of things. You don't have a Roth option right now in terms of your account. So, I would keep doing, I mean, you don't have to save as much in the retirement account, but, I would probably just do like probably 20. It's so weird. It's like your pension is so good that I think you just want to like make sure you can afford everything that you like to live your life, that 10 grand a month. So I don't know. Like I'm okay with you just sort of saying like for at least for the first year and you get a handle on the expenses, let's pull that, your contribution level down to, 19.5. You don't have to do the extra 6,500 because you're over
Okay.
50. All right. Let's see how that goes. But then I think, especially if you stay with this Morgan Stanley guy, then what you want to do is start maybe thinking about a strategy to convert some of the money because all of your money, which is now like will be $1.6 million, has not been taxed. Once you're in the 22% tax bracket, it's worth converting some of that a little bit at a time. So I would start doing that. And I think the easiest way to do it would be, to maybe knock off some of the small IRAs, but you would have to actually sell something in the taxable account to pay the tax that's due on the money you're converting. So I'm sure you have a lot of embedded capital gains, and this is a real strategy that would take some foresight, but I think it's worth considering at the very least. And don't put any money into the 529s. You're fine. Like you're going to just have to deal with it right now because part of her leaving the workforce means that you're not going to fully fund a private school education for each of your kids. You're just not going to, you can't afford it.
Right.
If you decide you want to, like life is good if it's, 4 or 5 years from now and you're in you're 60 years old and you're like, you know what, things are great. And we've made a bunch of money and we can contribute to some of this. Sure. You don't have to put more money in. This is a good base that they have. And let's see where things land. Let's see if your wife likes this game plan. Essentially, when you leave the workforce at 50, even if it may suck for her because she's like, I'm making half what I made before, but she's still making money. So
Right.
if she were to re-enter the workforce in a couple of years, because she's like, oh, you know what? This not working was great for a year, but I'm going to pull my hair out. then I think then you can start restarting some of these funding vehicles. But for now, I really wouldn't do much more because you just have to see where things settle for you.
We may need a couple thousand here or there. So you're saying we should take those out of investment, not reduce the $100,000
No, you
in
can use the cash, but like, you're going to eat into that cash, right? And
yeah.
then at some point, you're going to start feeling anxious about it
Yep.
because you're going to say, I mean, you're only one salary. I mean, you're in education, so chances are you're not going to get fired. So, what's your real cash number? Is probably like what 50? Is that's right about your 5 or 6 months 60,000.
Yes.
Um,
And I think we can easily get down to $7,000 a month. You
Oh,
know,
that's what you say now. You're gonna feel very mad. You're gonna be like, "Oh, I don't want to." Okay, but let's. Okay, so yeah, you can use some of the cash to float expenses in the near term while this transition is going on. I do think it's important for you guys to know that you have a lot of options. So don't lock yourself into this place of like, we must spend $7,000 a month because we cannot touch it. Da, da, da. Like, don't do that to yourselves. You have $400,000 in this taxable account. That is your money. You can use that money. All right. You can use it if something is happening. I mean, you could potentially use that and pay for college, but we need more information. I wouldn't want you to do that. But, if you're going to have this great pension of 100 grand a year, chances are like, your pension plus 2 Social Security checks means that you guys are pretty close to hitting your numbers, at least pre-tax, right? So you're not going to need all this money. It's just a question of like right now you're in this in-between period of her age 50 to when she claims and you guys start claiming Social Security. And that's money you need to access. Again, I wouldn't do anything crazy immediately. I would think about the conversion, but maybe I wouldn't do it. Maybe I'd just do a little bit of it because I want to preserve the opportunity to keep that money around for you guys. We don't know what this next period's going to look like yet. I think it's too early. I think the decision's great. You can afford to do it, but things are going to shift a lot. And so you should stay in touch with us.
thank you so much.
Mark, is there anything else? Oh, how about wills and powers of attorney and healthcare proxies?
Well, we knew this was important, so we started probably almost a year ago and working with a lawyer. It's been a little slow moving, but we have all the paperwork done. We just now have to have everything accredited. So I'm basically saying, yes, those are done.
Okay. How about life insurance?
Yes, we both have policies. We have $1 million for my wife and 500,000 for me.
Okay. Obviously, if she does not want to work, do you know how the numbers look even better? Is that you just keep working. That's just the deal. I'm sorry to say that. You know that. So 3 more years is great. It's great that you're an educator and you should be rewarded for that. I think you guys are in good shape. Let's at least consider some of these things going forward and just know that this is not the plan. This is, the evolving plan, right? And it will happen over time and things will shift and we're happy to be here for you. Okay.
I so appreciate all of this. Thank you.
All
You've
right.
actually made me feel much more comfortable.
Excellent. You know what, Mark? Next time around, you and I, when we try to find partners, we're going to find some New York State teacher types because they've got amazing pensions. They really do. Next time we have to pick in our next lives. When we have that shot, you never know. Could happen. Give me a good pension, darn it. Anyway, find yourselves a good person to fall in love with, and hopefully that person has a pension. If you have a financial question or you're at a crossroads in your life, why don't you give us a holler? Because we are happy to talk about where you are in your planning process. And it is a process, not an event. So just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the contact button, and send us your note. If you'd like to come on the air, Mark will arrange it. While you're on the website, check out all the stuff that we write and maybe past shows and maybe watch a TV appearance. Check out the resource section, all that fun stuff. And you may want to subscribe to our sister podcast. It is called Eye on Money. Go out and lift someone up today. Grit, growth, grace. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.